Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to GMID23, which actually means Global Meetings Industry Day. I'm Deborah Gardner, your host for Hospitality Today Live, the #1 hospitality show. And I am thrilled to have you all join us today, our third live GMID worldwide broadcast, for another exciting special edition of GMID that actually is displayed over 200 events, 35 plus countries, and over 180 organizations worldwide. So this is a very, very exciting day. Now, my co-host, Randy Clark with Efficient Health Solutions, who is also our official sponsor again this year, and I are here all day with the amazing variety of top industry organizations, leaders, while celebrating GMID 23. And we are extremely flattered to have Cathy Breden, who is actually the Executive Vice President, COO with International Association of Exhibitions and Events. She is actually going to discuss the importance of meetings and events to the global economy, what challenges she believes the industry will face in the next few months in particular, and as a female executive, how would she like to leave her legacy? All this and more. So get ready as we kickstart this day by showcasing the value of business meetings, events, trade shows, travel, exhibitions, conferences, and conventions that brings to people, businesses, and communities right here on HTL. Here we are. I want to introduce to you someone very special, a new friend of mine as well, with over 30 years of experience in events, adjunct faculty at Dallas College, teaching the introduction to exhibition, oversees global strategy, marketing, communications, conferences, conventions, events, and members at IAEE. So here we are with Cathy. I want to say happy GMID.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me, and happy GMID back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very exciting day. And as I was just mentioning, I just got the opportunity to meet you recently and at the IAEE Women's Leadership Forum, which was so exciting. I had such a great time that day. And I think not only did we have a good time, but I have to show you who else had a good time. We know David too well, right?
Yes, we do.
Had to throw that in there because he's such a jokester. We just enjoy him. He's so much fun. But again, I'm tickled pink to have you on the show. Again, I had the distinct honor to be one of the presenters, and it was a sold out Women's Leadership Forum in DC recently, which is how we met. And it was such a fun day. I'm sure you had just as much fun as David did as well.
Yes, and thank you so much for being there and also being one of our wonderful presenters. And your boots are made for walking, and quite impressive that you're able to get those boots on while you were on stage with such ease.
Yeah, we had the women up and dancing, trying to keep the energy going the entire day. And a good thing those boots zipped up, because the group before it did not. And I had to continue. You know what? Just like we do in the meetings industry, we just keep going,
That's right.
even though those boots might be flapping. But we had a really good time. So thank you so much. Now, we're going to discuss the importance of meetings and events. But first, I have a very important question for you. What does GMID mean to you?
So I'm sure everybody knows that it's Global Meetings Industry Day. And I think that, what we do as an industry, business events, we make a difference in people's lives, local economies, as well as bringing people together of different cultures from around the world to better understand one another. And I firmly believe that if we were all able just to come together and just sit down and have dinner together, sit down at a table at a break, that we would have much less strife in the world than we do now. So I really think that by bringing people together, that it makes a difference.
It really does. And yes, I appreciate that explanation to help kickstart today. That means a lot, especially if people aren't really quite familiar with GMID. I know it's a big, meaningful day and a celebration that we should be doing every day. So
Yes, it
thank you
is
so much.
absolutely. It is a
Yeah.
celebration, right? It's a celebration of what it is that we do. It's
Yep.
also a PR campaign to let others who do not know about what it is that we do have a better idea because, all when I talk with my family and friends about what it is that I do, they still have to, they still have a difficult time understanding what it is that I do.
Yep, that is so true. We have to explain that, but once they get it, I know that a lot of them want to work in the industry with us because we do have a good time and we do
Yeah.
have phenomenal relationships that have lasted for years and years and years. And I tell you, as I mentioned at the Women's Leadership Forum, our industry is not a small community. We're definitely on a global basis, and I think that's more now today than ever. But when we go through the cycles of change within the industry, we do face some challenges. And I was just curious, as we celebrate today, we also want to tackle, what our future looks like, what the challenges look like, and what those solutions are. I mean, do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah, I think in the near term, what we have in terms of challenges are, it's the economy, it's the geopolitical tensions that we are experiencing today. In the trade show industry, our performance of our shows closely tracks US GDP here in the US. And when the economy struggles, our shows struggle. And looking at where we are now with the possibility of a recession, which is highly likely in the third, fourth quarter of this year, that can impact our events. So, certainly that is a major issue. And, whatever happens between, countries where there are those political tensions, that can also impact because think about it, trade shows generate global trade. And when there are strife within different regions and countries, that can impact the performance of trade shows.
And that's the one thing we don't want to have happen is that trickling effect. But I know how resilient our industry is. So, gosh, if anybody wants to be in any industry, this is the one that always knows where the solutions are, and we band together. We're one big, powerful voice that allows us to each and every one of us hear what needs to be said. And I'm very proud of this industry, especially after 30 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, as a female in a very vital role, and I say very vital role, as an executive for a major association, how would you like to leave your legacy? Because you've really positioned yourself extremely well, and I just would love to hear what you can say about what women can learn from you that aspire to be in your position, because it's a phenomenal role to have and a very important one.
This can be a very rambling, long response.
We have time.
So, in terms of my industry, I never aspired to be in the role that I'm in.
Oh.
I'm very fortunate that I did get to that role. What I did want, as I said at the Women's Leadership Forum, was that I wanted a seat at the table, and I wanted to be paid equitably for the work that I'm doing, that any man would be paid in a similar position. So those were two things, and it took me a very long time to get to that point. It took me up until maybe 15 years ago, when I've been in the industry for over 30, right? So it took me at least 15 years to get to that point where I was promoted, but not necessarily getting the salary that I should have been. And, kudos to David Dubois, who is very much empowers the people that works with him, and me as well, to make decisions and move forward. And I also talk about other ways that I've been empowered by people that I've worked with over the years, by my husband, by my children, who empowered me to be in the role and the travel, the amount of travel that I used to do, not as much as I was in the past, but certainly being gone 60% of the time. That there are a lot of people that have been behind me and alongside me, getting me to where I am today. So, my legacy, what I would like to leave is, as a female in the industry, the women need to decide, not, at any given point in time, but, they need to ask themselves, what is it that they want to achieve? And, today's workforce is very different. They want to work differently than perhaps you and I worked. I'm working 12-hour days. I'm away on weekends. I, get up at 3:00 in the morning to get on an early flight. And it'll be interesting to see how that might change over the next several years, in terms of, will those people that are coming up behind, regardless of whether it's a man or a woman, how they might change how business is being conducted today in terms of the amount of time worked. So my legacy is that I want to lift others up, regardless of who they are and where they are from. And anyone that wants to work hard to get to that next level, or just work hard in general. I find that we are a very passionate bunch of people doing what it is that we do. And I'm just here to help anybody, mentor anyone that has a desire, and have mentored a couple of people that have, it's been very rewarding for me, more than anything, just to reassure them that they're on the right path, and what they're doing. It's not anything that maybe they might not like to be in the position that they are in, but
Right.
It's not anything that they have done or not done, and that they should not take it personally. And I think as a woman, that's one of the things that we do, is we tend to really take things personally and to heart, and perhaps obsess over it a bit too much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And your legacy, I believe what you were saying too, is not only does it affect, your business, but your personal life too, with your kids and family, is very important. And sometimes we forget, when we talk about our legacy, we're always thinking work, work, work. Whereas there is the personal side as well. And what you were describing is what most, every woman or man need to really embrace, is what does their character look like in the industry as they go through this process. Because like you said, some positions they might not want to be in, but what did you learn from that? What did you take away from it? What relationships were you able to build? Because as small as this industry is, it's big, and you're going to run into the same people eventually. So is there anything advice-wise that you have for especially the younger generation, character-wise? Is it being more patient? Is it being resilient? Is it about determination? What is your description of that?
Well, you used some really good words right then. I do think that resilient is a really important one, because there are going to be setbacks. And I'll use my son as an example. It took him, a couple of years after graduation to find the position that he is in now, and he wasn't very resilient about it, and he was really taking it to heart. And I think that, perhaps with the younger generation, they perhaps don't have as much resilience because of the blocks that, the older generation perhaps had. However, at the same time, there is a lot of, blockades now for that younger generation. Here we are facing, a recession. We've been through a very difficult 3 years, and it's just a matter of knowing that things are going to get better the next day. But I also, for that younger generation, they can't be resistant to working hard. And, as much as we want to say that there is work-life balance, when you are running events, especially leading up to that event, there may not be that work-life balance, and it may require many long hours. But what I would like to do is somehow figure out how do we make it different for them and those behind me, because, people don't want to work 12 hours. I don't blame them. I don't want to work 12 hours or more. So I think that, them just being resilient, working hard, really leaning in, and demanding a seat at the table. Don't be afraid to express your opinions, and your ideas and your suggestions, because as someone who has a very small staff compared to many other organizations, you need somebody that can take initiative, you empower them to make appropriate decisions. But I think most of all these days, you need people that will take initiative, that have those critical thinking skills, that they can think through different problems. We were just talking about it before the podcast, about how, you just have to sometimes pivot and just keep going when things don't go exactly as you had planned. And so those critical thinking skills and taking initiative and being articulate, and being able to express your suggestions, and also, quite honestly, getting along with people who may not be your best friends or even your friends, but still maintaining that professional level of attitude and behavior is very important.
Oh my goodness. Very good characteristics to have, definitely. And obviously, you love the industry. Working 12 hours a day, sometimes it can be grueling, but if you love what you do, it doesn't seem like 12 hours. I mean, you studied the association management from the beginning, and your certifications are very impressive. CAE, CMP, I mean, probably the list goes on, and all the honors and awards that you've had. But pertaining to the certification, is this important for everyone in the industry to accomplish, and how can they use it for their benefit?
I looked at it, my certifications, I looked at it that, if this was going to be my career of choice, that I wanted to really be able to demonstrate my knowledge and my commitment. Also, my commitment to lifelong learning, because even though if you do go to college or university, once you graduate, that doesn't mean that you're going to stop learning. I found that, especially with my CMP, that the study group that I went through, studying for that exam, and the friends that I made, as well as the CAE, but I think, it's also helped to elevate me, that demonstrates my commitment to my career. The CEM, that's an honorary CEM, because I wrote some of the modules, some of the content for that program. And so the CEM Commission decided to give me an honorary designation because of that. But one of the good things about certifications is you learn all the different facets of that body of knowledge. Whereas, you may not be in the marketing department, but at least through this study, you're going to learn the basics of marketing, perhaps, or of sales, those types of things. It just expands your knowledge. And also the fact that by having a certification, you have to have this continuous learning, this lifelong learning that I mentioned in order to retain, to recertify, is also another demonstration, in my opinion, of your commitment to your career.
Yeah, it keeps you accountable and up to par with the industry, educational wise, building relationship wise, and career wise. So I'm glad to hear that you've had great experience, and congratulations on helping that process, because someone in your role like this, it's wonderful, because you have the knowledge, you have the expertise, you have the background, you have it all. And again, I know there's a lot of women and men would definitely aspire to be in your position someday. So this is good, all good to hear for everyone, especially here on GMID Day. Now, mentorship was a big panel topic during the Women's Leadership Forum. So, and I was sitting there thinking, okay, so who has mentors? What does that look like? So I'm going to ask you, do you have a mentor being in the position that you're in, and how does that serve you?
I don't have any, and I have never had a formal mentor. What
Oh,
I what I did in my career was I looked at different people that were around me, both within my professional life, but also outside. My friends, my family, other well-known people, perhaps. And I picked out those qualities of leadership that I admired and adapted them for my own. So I didn't really have any type of formal, there are people that I immediately knew that I did not like their leadership qualities, and I would never be like them. But, my values around leadership is, um, you know, very open, hearing others' ideas, believing that in every single idea, there is some nugget that might be able to be used in some way. So you respect everyone's ideas.
right.
Also the books that I've read. There was a book that I mentioned at the Women's Leadership Forum, Owning the Room, that I read early on. That for me, in order to gain attention when you are in a room and having a seat at the table, is understanding and assessing those that are also in the room with you, their communication styles, adapting your communication style to be able to get your thoughts in there in some instances. So that book was really quite valuable to me. And, I actually wrote the author and told her how important it was. But I did not have any formal mentors. Sometimes I wish I would have. Maybe there would not have been the amount of angst, perhaps in some cases, when I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to, other than perhaps friends who might be a little biased and less objective.
Right. And family too. Well, that's interesting, because that's a take that I have never heard of before. And here you've been on both sides of that fence, without a mentor, and then also those that, you gravitated towards. So you really do know that difference and the impactfulness that it entails. So interesting perspective. Well, I have one more question for you. I knew this interview would go really fast, this conversation. And that is, as long as you've been in the industry, if you had a magic wand, what would you wish for this industry starting today?
I'm all about face to face. I think, digital certainly has its place now. But I'm of that generation where I think learning face to face is what we are, what we know. So moving forward and waving that magic wand, I would want everyone to want to be together, rather than, communicating this way or, over Zoom, but bringing everyone together. Also, another magic wand is just, the tensions that are going on both here in the United States and elsewhere in the world, waving that wand to make all that go away so that we can all come together and talk in a civilized tone and respect each other for our different beliefs and opinions and just appreciate that, at the end of the day, we're all just human beings and that we want and need to be together. So, that's my magic wand.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Well, our
Very
magic wand came true to have you on the show. So this is great. That's wonderful. So I know those that are listening and watching the show right now and celebrating here on March 30th for GMID 23. I know they probably want to get in touch with you. So how can they contact you?
Well, there you have it right there at the bottom of the screen, Deborah. That's how they can contact.
Are you on social media or just this is the best
I
way?
am on LinkedIn,
Okay.
but this is probably the best way to get in touch with me.
Great. Just email you or look for you on the website at
Yeah.
IAEE. Wonderful. Well, this has been such a delight. Again, I'm tickled pink to have you here. I knew right away that I met you that you were definitely a special lady, and as I got to know you more during WLF, certainly I was right on that. So thank you so much for joining us here and help celebrate GMID 23. And I know we'll be back to seeing each other in the industry sooner and hopefully face to face.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. Cathy is amazing. Don't you agree? She certainly put it into perspective of what is going on in the industry while celebrating Global Meetings Industry Day 2023. So we really appreciate her taking time out of her busy day to be with us. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to bring in my co-host, Randy Clark, to actually do a quick recap. And if you have any questions, put it in the chat, comments. We would love for you to join us as well. So Randy, thank you so much for joining us today on this fabulous GMID 23.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. What a great time to be here. What a great time for our industry. Had dinner with some Irish friends last night, and the things are just moving so quickly, and business is back. So it's great to see.
Can't you feel it? I know I can too, definitely. So what'd you think of Cathy's conversation with me a moment ago? She definitely nailed it with the questions that we had for her. And that's why she's in the position she's in.
It is. And it's interesting because, first of all, for those 3 a.m. wake-up calls, she is so fortunate to have the best airport in the world, DFW, to go to and fly out of for all of that travel. So
right, exactly. Yeah, share us your take on that conversation.
It's a good one. But what I found most interesting is that she started out and she didn't anticipate being in the position that she's in. She just grew into that position. And I think that for a lot of us in the industry, we don't know where we're going to be. We start in one position, especially in the hospitality industry. We start here and we end up over here. And it's the passion for our industry, the working with people that keeps us going. And what I found is exactly like Cathy said, you can work hard, but it wasn't until she really discovered that it was the team. When she worked with a team and she realized that it was support system that she had, it was her family, her colleagues, David Dubois, empowering her to just take charge and have this position. That's when things really do start to click for people. When you understand that you have to embrace the team. You have to embrace all the different kinds of people that are going to help you get to that position that elevates you. And she said it perfectly, and I agree. I've worked hard for years, but it wasn't until I started to embrace the people that are around me and learn from them and let them support me that my business started to take off.
Yeah, that's so true. And of all industries, this is the one where you can do that.
Yes.
Everybody's so open. I mean, when I call somebody, they're willing to pick up the phone and help and chit chat and put things in perspective for you and help with some solutions. That's what's so great about it. And I tell you what, our relationships have lasted for years and years and years because of it too.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too because of the mentorship that has become so big. For example, when you and I were both presidents of MPI chapters, me the Aloha chapter, you in Arizona, the mentorship aspect of it. I mean, you guided people, but you guided me, as a matter of fact. But it wasn't really that important. But now, mentor mentee is such a big aspect of growth in our industry, and I think it's a wonderful thing. And Cathy hit on it. She's, she wants to have people reach out to her, and she wants to guide people. So it's great. It's what we do.
Yeah, definitely. And she definitely answered the magic wand question just spot on, because we all wish for face-to-face. I mean, when we, had to go through this tough time this past couple of years, I mean, when virtual was a 100% thing for us to do, I don't know about you, Randy, but I resisted. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Remember these?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. We started the show. Right. And I love those signs. That is so great. And it's true. It's true. We really resisted it. And then once, we embrace it, and virtual's been here a long time in the industry. It just really went full speed, these past couple of years. But yet I totally agree with her, face to face all the way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now you have people saying virtual. Well, what's virtual now? They're just trying to step away from that. And like, oh my gosh, because everyone wants to get together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So anything else you wanted to add on that for comment with Cathy and Dynamite Lady?
I just thought it was a great interview. You did a great job. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to an exciting day today. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, you as well. And this is an exciting day. We've got a full day here, Randy and I, and it is going to be exciting. So everyone stay tuned. We are just beginning, and I can't wait to share with you who our next guest is. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.